If you're like me, your first decent flashlight was a Maglite. And if you're also like me, a few years ago you began to realize Maglites, while well made, are underpowered, have ugly tints, and have been left behind competitively. Wah wah. You're like, well, it costs more to make flashlights in the US. Well, I'm not complaining about the manufacturing. It's the lack of keeping up with modern tech that keeps Maglite down. And then maybe a deal with the devil. Well, internet bros and gals design flashlight parts and driver code in their free time out of flashlight love. And if Maglite spent a little time practicing flashlight love, they could design a proper driver and use high-powered LEDs. So they could keep up instead of... wait, hold on. I'm getting a call here. Sorry. Awkward time for this.
Who dis?
Hey, Mark. I hear you're doing a video about how much you can't stand Maglites.
Yeah, what of it?
Well, I was just thinking you might want to try one of my drop-ins.
So
I just rolled out a new version.
Who is this anyway?
It's Matt.
Matt who?
Matt Smith from Adventure Sport Flashlights.
How'd you get this number?
Dude, I was at your sister's wedding last month. I gave you a ride to the church.
No, I don't. It doesn't really ring any bells.
In my truck?
But
we went to high school together for 5 years.
So what is it you wanted anyway? You're gonna send me like a light, right? Is that?
Yeah, I'll get it on the way to you, bro. Try not to hurt yourself with it.
So that was Matt from fellow YouTube channel Adventure Sport Flashlights. He's like, hey, wait, I make a Maglite that's better. It's like it's on steroids, but all the tests come up clean, like it was competing for the Tour de France. Okay, that joke was only mine. He would not have said something that dumb. I think it was an improper metaphor usage anyway. It has that same classic look, but roided out under the hood. And I just realized that bicycles don't have hoods. Okay, moving on. Take, for example, my old 3D Maglite that I upgraded to an LED bulb from Walmart. It puts out 53 lumens and uses expensive D cells, which, if I look on Amazon and my math is correct, that's slightly less than $1 a cell for the cheap ones. This Maglite had leaky alkaline, so it screwed up the plastic reflector. That's why the beam looks like crap and I don't use it anymore. And I'm also a disappointment to my parents. Now, to be fair, there are Maglites that get close to 700 lumens, but Adventure Sport Flashlight says, nah, brah, that's for children. So today, let me present a 2,000 lumen Maglite and a nearly 5,000 lumen Maglite. Finally, it's a big light that, puts out an appropriate amount of light. Matt takes the Maglites, rips out the guts, punches them in the face, and puts in some supercharged LEDs and drivers. And puts a spacer in the tube so it can take lithium-ion batteries. He also makes bulb drop-ins so you can convert your Maglite. But you'll need to check his website for more info about that, because I don't know which Maglites they work for. He can answer that question, though. So let's go over the output. Now, there are a ton of mode group options via programming because of the firmware. So I went with what suits me the best. Here are both lights side by side with my figures for output. Note both lights will be different because of the overall different maximum outputs. The firmware uses percentages. I used Group 12, which is 4 modes, starting with, you guessed it, Moonlight, which is a bit higher than I'd like out of a Moonlight. Then is 2%. Then is 25%. Then is Turbo. Turbo by default isn't timered, but since I wanted to do runtime tests, I put a turbo timer of about 4 minutes, which makes it drop to 50%. Now, you don't have to do that, but if you ever have a tendency to leave lights on and run the batteries out without being near the light like an idiot, then set the turbo timer. 4,500 to 5,000 lumens is a lot of heat and might damage the light if it ran unattended. The good thing is if you don't do that, your hands are a pretty good indicator if a light is getting too hot. The flashlight will become uncomfortable to hold long before it damages the internals. So just switch to a lower mode if it becomes too hot, or just turn it off for a few minutes. You wouldn't let your car run in your garage, would you? Anything lower than turbo mode, you don't have to worry about the turbo timer. In fact, you could probably set the turbo timer to more than 4 minutes. It's just I was being a little conservative about it. The UI. The user interface is super duper easy. It takes a few tries to do the programming to get the button presses correct, but out of the box it's just a basic 3-mode light. The programming is just a bunch of button presses, and if you can play video games poorly like I do, then you can program it. I program my light to have 4 modes. So you just go into the menu, you click whatever mode grouping you want, and then it's a little more in depth than that, but not much. So like I mentioned in the output section, I set my turbo timer. To operate it, it's easy. Just click it once to turn it on or off. To switch modes, either go through half presses before you fully click the light to turn it on, or rapidly turn it on and off to advanced modes. There are many options for output, like turning on or off mode memory, so check Adventure Sports' website to see what other options you can program it for. And for people who know flashlights, the lights use the popular Dr. Jones Guppy 2 DRV firmware. Now run times on 100% and 25%. For the 2D size Maglite, I use 2 Thorfire 5000 mAh 26650 cells. These cells are rechargeable in the same chargers as your 18650 cell because they are the same voltage. The diameter is bigger, so it may be a bit too big for some chargers without using spacers. For the 1D Maglite, I used a Keep Power high drain cell. Adventure Sport Flashlight sells batteries for these lights if you're unsure. Again, you can't use Ds in these lights. Hopefully none of you laughed at that. 100% mode. I set the turbo timer to 3 or 4 minutes on both. It's a temperature time step down, so when you feel the light is getting too hot, you set your timer so the light steps down to 50% power. Colder and warmer ambient room temperatures will affect how hot the light gets and how fast. You can see that over the course of the runtime, as voltage drops in the batteries, so does the brightness subtly. At 1 hour and 45 minutes, the 2D drops to a moonlight mode and just runs. The 1D continues to run and then dims until about 2 hours and 55 minutes, and then it gets like super duper low emergency light mode. I ended the test at 3 hours with a little bit of light coming out of both lights because I ain't got time for nothing else. Now 25%. Like high mode, brightness drops on both very subtly as the battery voltage drops. Remember though, the 2D is a much brighter light, and even though it has 2 batteries, it doesn't run as long because 25% of 4600 lumens is more than 25% of 2200 lumens. You're like, I get it, I took math in the 3rd grade. So you get about 4 hours and 30 minutes out of the 2D before it hits ultra low emergency light mode. Then the 1D starts a more substantial drop around 6 hours and 45 minutes and then hits emergency light mode around 7 hours and 50 minutes. I ended the test at 9 hours and 34 minutes with light coming out of both. Battery voltage on the 1D was about 2.65, and in the big light the voltage was 3.1 volts per battery. Remember to charge when the light starts dimming considerably. I used unprotected cells in these lights because I needed high drain cells and I live on the edge. Beam shots. For this I pulled out the big lights. Finally a Maglite can run with my big lights. And one light just slightly brighter than the current line of bright Maglites that you would buy directly from them. So you can see how much brighter this is than even the brightest of the Maglites. I will not use my 3D cell light because it would not show up at this distance and it would just be black. We'll do all the lights against the 2D first and then the 1D. First up is the big one, the 2D. This is a very bright, very floody light. Its optics scatter the light around widely and it has a nice neutral tint with a touch of warmth. The XHP-50 emitters provide a ton of brightness. Now we're going to go to the 1D Maglite. About half as bright, but a bit throwier, so while you get less overall light, the light will reach a little further away from you if you need it. It's a cool white tinted, and it uses 3 emitters. Again, this is still over twice as bright as any stock Maglite made. Now back to the 2D for a second. I think this is the 4th brightest light I've ever tested, maybe the 5th. Now to the throwier but less bright Convoy L6. The light uses the same type cells as the 2D Maglite. I call it a 2D Maglite, but again it doesn't use D cells. It's just the size type of battery tube that the Maglite has. The Convoy has a nice tint too, so yeah. So let's check out the R50 Seeker now, a light I reviewed last summer. Go watch it. It's a cool white floody light too and uses a single 26650 battery. But the 2D Maglite uses 2 of those. Another second for the Maglite. And then my other love, the Noctagon Meteor, the brightest light in the whole bunch. It's my second brightest light after, of course, the X7, which I didn't show in here for whatever reason. But then back to the Maglite for a second. Doot. Now the Sunwayman D40A. I put this in here because the brightest Maglites are still only about 800 lumens. And this is over 900, so this is a reference point because I don't own any current generation Maglites. So, yeah. Now the 1D. It's still a bit brighter than the Sunwayman you just saw. We'll leave it up here for a second or few so you can see and compare and whatever. And we'll compare it to the Convoy L6 now. Check out my review of that one for some bad truck driving jokes. You're like, that sounds like a reason to watch a flashlight review. Bad truck driving jokes. Now the R50 Seeker. It's comparable to the 1D Maglite. A little more because of the overall brightness, cool tint, and battery size. Back to the Maglite for a second. Doop. Now the Noctagon Meteor again. Yeah, that's bright. You know they're still available, right? While supplies last, I think at only 2 places. Fun fact, the company that made that light did not like my review. They thought it hurt sales. Which is weird because I liked the light, later bought one, and I think that it actually helped sales. But whatever. Also, before I forget, no PWM was visible on any of the modes I tested on the Maglites. Okay, let's wrap it up. Matt at Adventure Sport Flashlights sent me these to check out. They're loaners, and they're amazing. Matt is not affiliated with Maglite in any way. He just buys new Maglites, strips out the old bulb and reflector, puts in a new super LED bulb module developed by him, and puts a new spring in the back, and an insert tube, and the batteries fit properly. It works just like a regular Maglite does, and looks mostly like a regular Maglite from the outside except for the front of it. The light still retains the classic Maglite look, but it's way better. And the good thing is, this is still made in the USA. It supports Maglite because those lights are bought, and Adventure Sport Flashlights supercharges them with its LED, bulb, and driver modules. Yes, the modules are handmade on lathes. Is that still considered handmade? In the USA by flashlight scientists and craftsmen. So you're supporting multiple businesses here. The bulbs are available from Matt if you want to modify your own Maglite with a few easy steps that you can find out by checking out Adventure Sport Flashlight's YouTube channel and his website. If you're looking for something bright and classic, this is your light. It supports American businesses, it's easy to use, and will blow away all of your friends' flashlights. That is, of course, unless they watch this channel and have bought a Meteor or an X7, but those dudes are insufferable anyway. A big thanks to Matt. Please subscribe to this channel and his channel. Buy your lights from him. Leave a comment, like this video, and check out the video description for a coupon code for Matt's Adventure Sport Flashlights Maglites. Thank you for watching.